We are Popcorn, Piss, and Vinegar, giving you a raw take on Blade Runner 2049. My name's Chris.
My name's Scott.
My name is Jay.
So, do we consider this like an episode number, or is this kind of like a like an Easter egg sub episode? Is
Yes.
That, okay, cool.
If we were British, this would be the Christmas episode.
Oh, okay, awesome. Kind of like that awesome Black Mirror Christmas episode with
Doctor Who.
John Hamm. Yeah,
Yep,
that's fucking cool.
Christmas in October.
that's what's up.
It's really a shame that they actually Americanized that shit, because now Black Mirror White Christmas is actually given an episode number and season number. So we have to fuck up everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we do is fuck the British up. All right. So, whoa, excuse me. All right. Blade Runner 2049. Man, where do we start? John, why don't we start with you?
I'm pretty much on the side of critics. It was awesome. It was everything I could hope it could be and more. Here we are a week out and change from having seen it, and I'm still having conversations with people online about it. And when I say conversations, I don't mean, you think it was good? No, it sucked. Yeah, okay. No, it's getting into the themes and the writing and everything. Just like the original, really. Only it took me much less time to appreciate this one as a masterpiece, whereas when I saw Blade Runner, the original, in the theater, I was expecting a, R-rated Han Solo movie, and I came out disappointed and confused. And with the subsequent edits, I came to love it and consider it maybe one of the best science fiction movies ever made.
And it's really funny you say that, because I think now in 2017, which we do expect better in 2017.
Yeah.
What it comes down to is that crowds and audiences now, I think, kind of have fell in the same trap that they did when the original movies came out. There's healthy doses of superhero movies and, ironically, Star Wars.
Yeah.
And, crowds are really used to, modern movie audiences are really used to very fast-paced movies. And I think that that's all I can say is there's some irony there. I think the same thing from the 1982 audience that was kind of like at the dawn of these fast-paced science fiction style action movies. You're seeing the same thing, and it's really unfortunate. The movie, from what I've read over the last week, it extremely underperformed as to what it was supposed to. I think it had a $150 million budget and only netted 31 on the opening weekend, and they were expecting 50 million. And
that was up from 35, though. Remember, they were thinking 35, and then they kicked it up to 50 because of all the positive buzz.
Yeah,
And so I feel like its faceplant isn't as drastic as people are saying, and I also think it's going to get a lot of repeat business, because I've never seen more people in social media saying they want to see it again. So, the jury is out. Once Thor comes out, all bets are off. But
well, I think the box office after this weekend is going to tell the story as to what people, as to what people want to do. But let's Scott.
How did the first one? How did the first one do?
Oh, it underperformed.
This is sort of a mirror image.
Yeah, it was a flop. And we don't know if this one's a flop just yet, but I don't know. I'm kind of a glass is half empty kind of fucking guy instead of a glass is half full. Honestly, I don't think that this movie is going to perform to the expectations of the studio. It's just my opinion. Hey, look, I don't know. Hey, look, it could end up being like something that's got legs and lasts a long time. I don't know. Personally, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I liked it, but I don't know that I'll watch it again in a theater. I thought it was good to see, especially in the Dolby Theater.
Oh yeah.
But just like the first one, I can't rant and rave about it to all my friends, but I liked it. Just like I like, good science fiction movie. I like the first one the same way. This one,
Well, I think that this is an example of an auteur science fiction movie. You're talking about it's so slow. Well, man, it's deliberately slow.
I didn't feel like it was slow at all. And it's a long movie. I felt like it.
Oh, it was fucking long.
It didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like, oh, this movie's taking forever. When's it going to be over? When it was done, I was like, oh, it's kind of over.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not going to be this. I'm really trying to kind of curve my ways as far as being a fanboy. I'll always be a troll, but I'm, I mean, and we'll get into this in the next into another show, but I mean, I'm not going to sit there and bust somebody's balls and call them stupid because they didn't enjoy Blade Runner 2049 or talk down to them as that they didn't understand it. I mean, look, there's a reason Baskin Robbins has 31 flavors. Not everybody likes chocolate, man. I mean, and that's the whole deal. People people sit there and they look at all that kind of shit, and I mean, it just may not be for them. Personally, I kind of walked in knowing what to expect. I knew that it was going to be a continuation / homage to the original movie. And I knew walking in. As soon as I saw the running time of 2 hours and 45 minutes, I was like, they're going to take their time developing shots. They're going to take their time developing the characters. They're going to really let the story unwind itself. And man, Scott says he doesn't want to go see it in the movies again, which I don't know. Looking at Scott right now, he doesn't look like he's really enthusiastic about anything. But
I didn't.
You're a little tired, buddy.
I'm a little tired.
You had a rough weekend.
Yeah.
What happened, man?
I was cheering for the local sports team yesterday.
Which one?
What?
The whatever the one that you went and saw.
I'm very proud of you.
Wow.
See, you sent me a text and it kept saying, go sports, go sports, go sports. And I told him, said, look, I appreciate that you put your Barbie dolls down for 3 minutes to text me. But hey, look, I'm proud of him. What made you go sports last night, man?
I just needed some day drinking.
What a fucking game, boy. So anyway, let's get back to Blade Runner.
No, my point with not wanting to see it again in the theater, I just don't, it was good, but I don't know. It wasn't one of those where I was like so excited when I left. It didn't, like I've seen some of the conversations you've had online, John, where you go back and forth. And once you kind of spell it out, I'm like, oh yeah. All right, well, when that comes on TV, I'll see it, and kind of go over it. But
I think the reason I want to go back see it in the movie again is because it's like I put on my review on Facebook initially. I mean, the epic nature of these scenes and the cinematography, it's so huge. Like, I mean, there were scenes I thought I was going to get crushed in my seat. It was so big. And I mean, man, especially the opening scene where they go to the farm, when he goes to the farm and they're doing like the upshot of his little, flying Peugeot flying over the farm thing. And like, I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, God damn, look, I mean, just the visuals are just so epic in scope, man. It's incredible.
I didn't find that it was as colorful as the first one. I really thought the first one was really bright, and this one seemed very red and gray at times.
See, I find the opposite, man. I find the first one, I mean, was pretty much kind of detective noir, and it was a lot of just kind of like blue, black, and gray was a lot of the stuff in the first movie. Of course, accented with some red flames coming out of smokestacks. But, man, I found this movie to be way more colorful than the first one, especially in the advertisements. When he saw the big purple-wigged version of Joy.
Right.
Sitting in the and I'm sorry, there will be spoilers in this review.
Oh, totally.
But man, I mean, I thought that the color palette wasn't far off from the first one, but I think it definitely injected some more color, so to speak,
Undoubtedly. I mean, Roger Deakins was cinematographer, and he was cinematographer for the original, so it really does feel like everyone put their all into it. And at the end of the day, though, all the complaints that I'm reading about it being slow and boring are from mostly millennials and people who thought the first one was boring.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. That's cool. I mean, if that's your thing. I mean, that's the thing. It's just going back and using a sports reference, not bringing up anything. But like people will explain to me over and over again why baseball is, America's pastime and the greatest sports either. See, you're yawning right now. That's about how I feel. You can explain to me top to bottom why baseball is the fucking greatest sport ever, but it's just not for me. I'm not going to bust somebody else's balls because they love it.
Right. Actually, that's a terrific analogy. Blade Runner is the baseball franchise of sci-fi, and
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Well, I don't
I'm
understand why, if you thought the first one was slow and you didn't really care for the first one, why are you going to see the second one?
I think because everyone went crazy for it, and I think critics are. I mean, Blade Runner at the time was a very unique offering, and I think a lot of critics didn't know what to make of it. And I think they were a lot like me, going, "Okay, this is a Harrison Ford, Raiders, Empire, and Raiders, Empire, and Star Wars that all come out, bam, bam, bam." So they were expecting something analogous, and they were like, no." But once you watch it on its own terms, it's if you like intellectually stimulating science fiction, that's the top of the game. It's outstanding.
I agree with you.
And truly in Philip K. Dick's tradition. So 2049 is the first really big budget shot at that probably since Blade Runner. Ex Machina is similar, but it's a smaller movie.
Yeah, it's
so
a way smaller
success
movie
because it cost nothing to make. This really swung for the fences, and I feel like they did it, but I don't know that there's enough of us in the world for it to be a blockbuster in the sense that we associate with Marvel or Star Wars, which is really disappointing. But I fucking love the movie.
I mean, it got made, so it can't be too disappointing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
He made that movie, and the first one was sort of a flop too.
Yeah.
Well, we got this one.
It actually is very similar to Tron, also.
But
yeah,
like, you see what I'm saying? Like, in the sense of like, it might be a box office flop that it didn't make Thor money or Star Wars money, but it made Blade Runner money, and it made the fans, that wanted to see it,
Well, I mean, you say it makes Blade Runner money, but I mean, I think the thing with it is nobody goes in there and wants things to perform to a certain level of expectations. Look, if we want 100, we're going to put 150 million in a movie. I mean, if I put 150 million in a movie and I'm an exec, I mean, look, just on basic business, I don't know how that shit works, but if I'm going to spend 150 million of a company's money to produce something, I wanted to make at least $600 million.
I understand that.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you're the filmmaker, did it really flop? If you
fuck no. I mean,
That's my
dude, to critics and to those kind of, I mean, and not really so much critics, even some fans. I mean, it's the same old thing. It kind of makes me laugh because I think about like local musicians and the scope of things that we're on, and I can't tell you how many times. And Scott, I know you've heard it as well. If I go play in a club and I can just touch one person, I've done my job as an artiste or as a performer.
Right.
Well, that's all well and good and all, dude. But I mean, the thing with it is that if you got $150 million fucking production you're putting on, you want to hope that you're going to touch about fucking 10 million motherfuckers.
One person ain't going to pay your bar tab.
Right. Exactly. So
I think Blade Runner money is the new metaphor for basically broke even.
Yeah, right.
I made Blade Runner money.
Yeah, right.
But in terms of the writing, given, and this is as much as I'll say about the Weinstein controversy, given that Weinstein is not going to be a force campaigning for otherwise small movies taking the big awards, I think Blade Runner might get some love in the Oscars.
I think so. It should too. Dude, it should get cinematography, at least a fucking nomination.
Yeah.
And I bet you Harrison Ford gets kind of like an honorary nomination as a supporting actor, because that's the best performance he's put in years.
I think Harrison's going to get the Peter O'Toole treatment.
Yeah,
he's going to get the Lifetime Achievement Oscar at some point in his life.
Yeah,
which he no doubt deserves.
Yeah,
I mean, he's made some of the most iconic movies ever, multiple times. Like lightning is struck for him like 4 or 5 times.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, as far as all this stuff is concerned, I mean, I think that Blade Runner goes right up there with kind of this modern science fiction that we've been seeing coming out, which is really thought-provoking stuff. It's up there with Black Mirror that you can find on Netflix, Which, I mean, I'm sure the people who listen to this show, all 12 of you kind of know what that is. We've talked about it in the past, but, if you don't know, it's kind of like a Twilight Zone with technology. We have Ex Machina, which was with Oscar Isaacs and Donald Gleason. Of course, both are in the new Star Wars franchise, along with Alicia Vikander. She won an Oscar for that role. Also, District 9. The first Blomkamp movie, not the other shit that he did, but But I mean, those kind of movies, I think Blade Runner kind of fits up in there, and honestly, I think it kind of leads the pack.
Oh,
I mean,
without question.
There's action in it, and there's detective stories in it, and all this different stuff. But I mean, ultimately, to me, it's what science fiction really is about, in the respect that it's always been just kind of a metaphor for social commentary. I mean, that's what this is. It continues on from, it takes the concepts of the original movie, which was basically about class and consumerism and that kind of shit, and it continues that stuff. But I find that in this movie, the broad strokes are a little bit less in this movie compared to the first one, even though they're definitely there. But I think that this movie's more about evolution. And
unquestionably,
it's about evolution, where the first movie a lot had to do with identity. The first movie asked the question, who or what am I? And this movie asks, okay, now that I know who I am, where do I go? And I think that's what a lot of this has to do with. It's fucking awesome.
I would argue that the theme is what is love, which is fucking, it was amazing, because what's really incredible about it is that the first Blade Runner, in part because of the multiple cuts that were made of it, generated the theme of who am I? Or, who am I? What constitutes humanity or soul? More human than human, right? And the central controversy was, is Deckard a replicant or not? Which was a mind-blowing concept, because I'd seen it a couple of times, and then they started changing the cut. And I read a review that basically said, it changes the question for, should Rachel be considered a human, to is Deckard a replicant? And I was like mind blown. And I watched it like 10 more times after that. Whereas with this movie, right off the bat that Joe, is a replicant. And he knows, and everyone knows. There's no mystery there. So you're just sort of like, fuck, what are they going to build it around then? And, the big MacGuffin is that a replicant reproduced. And that really, really effectively throws into question what Deckard is. And what's really fascinating about it is they maintained that mystery through this whole movie.
Yeah, it's really it's really a shame that in the past, like, Ridley Scott shat the bed and gave it up in an interview. He's pretty much said, look at my final cut of the movie, Deckard is a replicant. And it's kind of sad in a way, because in that final cut, it pretty much kind of spells it out for you, which is really a shame. This movie gave a lot more mystery as to, is he or is he not?
Right.
And I thought it was a lot more effective than that final cut of Blade Runner.
Well, just looking at it from a fan point of view, what idea do you respond to more? The idea that two replicants reproduced, or that a replicant and a human reproduced?
I think either way. I mean, both of those that's mind-blowing.
A world changer.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting close here to having to wrap up our little review here real quick. Let me ask y'all a quick question. What was kind of y'all's favorite scene in the movie? What did you walk away with saying, man, that was a really memorable scene for me? And
There were two things that three things I immediately responded to. The sound in Dolby was amazing. The seat was rumbling to the point where I felt like I was in a massage chair.
That is the best use of Dolby I've ever experienced in my life with that movie. That was fucking awesome.
But I will say that the way Kay or Joe shot, I was like, well, if Deckard was a replicant, they made some major fucking improvements, because it took like 3 shots to hit the snake chick in the first movie. And in this one, when he crash lands and he's surrounded by all those trash people, he just goes
Yeah.
and they all fall. Like
Yeah.
100% accuracy there. So that worked for me. And then the other part, and I can't remember if it was Scott or Chris that I looked at, and there was a smirk. There's one moment of heavy acting, which sort of drew a smirk, I guess, was when Kay verified that his memories were real, in air quotes, and he goes, "They're real. I know they're real," and he has that breakdown, and he goes, "Dah!" He has this weird sort of moment, which I mean,
I'm going to
would you do?
forgive Gosling for that. He's a great actor.
Oh,
man.
it was a great movie.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
What about for you, Scott?
I liked when he realizes that that his girlfriend, whatever that is actually one of those Joy. You know, when he sees her on the big screen, like that sort of realization that what's going on here? Like, I don't know. I felt like maybe he knew what was going on, but didn't know, and then just kind of came to terms with the fact that.
Or
nothing is as it seems, sort of.
Well, or that even artificial intelligence at a baser level than the replicants was able to have uniqueness or a soul. You know, it's like it's not the same. It's not the same as my Joy.
Right.
That was how I took it.
Right. Well, or it's like, I have that. How can I have that and it's available to everybody else? Like, well, does everybody else have that same connection with their joy? You know, like, and it goes back to the love, like the love thing. So, you know,
my favorite scene was actually had two favorite parts that were within the same scene. When they bring back Rachel from the first movie that was played by Sean Young.
Yeah.
That was a really heavy scene, and it goes to show you whether you agree with it or not, or how you feel about it. We went through this last year with Rogue One, with a recreation of Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin. We're watching, again, a CGI recreation of Sean Young, which looked really fucking good.
Side quest here.
Great.
The director actually had just walked out of Rogue One and said, that can't be how Rachel looks.
Yeah. Oh, no, well, there you go.
Yeah,
and
that's
it.
He said this movie will fail, so they put in like 6 months for just that one scene.
Yeah, and I mean, it looked amazing. It was good, and they actually got Sean Young to come back and voice the character.
Yep.
In that same scene, Jared Leto decides that he's going to kind of relate to Rick Deckard, and decides to lovingly place his hand on top of Deckard's hand, which Deckard pulls away. And in my thought, that was a real reaction of Harrison Ford saying, method acting. So that was pretty much my two favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, Deckard is a metaphor for Chris's response to all the Suicide Squad method acting news.
Jared Leto, I'll stand by it, man. He's a good actor. He didn't really impress me that much in this movie compared to other shit he's done.
Yeah.
But I tell you, though, man, he's a good actor, but, you know, just his interviews have really done him no favors, in my opinion. He just says just dumb shit. But hey, look, he performed his role, and did his thing. So
he did well.
Anything to add? Star ratings for Blade Runner. John and I, obviously 5 stars for us.
Yes.
Scott, give it to me.
4.5.
That's a fair. That's a fair review.
And it's only because I wasn't super into Blade Runner like y'all were. The first movie.
Yeah,
the first
fair.
movie.
There you go, man. Well,
Yeah.
hey, look. So it's a must recommend. Unfortunately, if you live here locally in New Orleans, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it in Dolby. I don't know if it's available in Dolby still. But if you can catch it in Dolby, definitely try out that version, man. I mean, the sound is amazing. If you can't, man, catch it on the big screen. It's cool to watch stuff on big screen TVs and all that stuff and everything. But man, the cinematography and just the scope of that movie definitely is something that warrants seeing on the silver screen there.
Undoubtedly.
So, All right. Well, look, we appreciate you guys checking us out. Make sure to jump over to iTunes and subscribe. If you're a true fan of the show, please write a review for us. And Elise, just give us a 5-star review. Make sure it's 5 stars. We'd appreciate that. Also, jump over to our YouTube channel. We put up the show there. You can also jump over to PPvGuys.com where we do previous episodes. And also, introducing on Facebook, we have our PPV Guys group. We invite you to join up with us. We get interaction on there. Been getting interaction pretty regularly. And, man, we love chatting with you guys. So definitely join the group and check it all out. Thanks for listening. End scene.